Welcome. Welcome to Between the Covers, the show for readers and writers and lovers of books. I'm Stephanie Larkin, author, book developer, publisher, and head penguin at Red Penguin Books. We publish books of all types and genres, so whether you have a manuscript all ready to go, a book stuck inside of you for the past, decade or so, or even need a ghostwriter, go visit us at redpenguinbooks.com and unleash your inner author. A big thanks to our sponsor tonight, Don Pablo Coffee. For all my authors out there, I know you're up all night writing that book. So Don Pablo Coffee is the way to go. And we have a new charity that we're supporting. They were on the show with us last week, the Book Fairies. So if you have any books at home, you would not believe what the Book Fairies do. They collect about 50,000 books per month, divvy them all up. They're going to schools all over the area that don't have books for their students. They're also going to prisons and other institutions that people need books. And any extra books are being shipped on barges overseas to Africa. So please contribute to thebookfairies.com. And if you have any books that you would like to contribute, you can bring them right there, visit the website, or join us here at the set anytime, and we'd be happy to pour a glass of wine for anyone who has a book. So thebookfairies.com. We have some fabulous guests tonight. Two are with me right here on the sofa. One is going to be Skyping in a little while. So please welcome authors Maureen Reid and Mike O'Keefe. Thank you. Thank you for coming.
Pleasure to be here.
And now that you are official members of the Between the Covers Club,
okay.
you get cards and everything. It's like a library card.
This is great, right.
And for anybody in our audience, if you would like to join Between the Covers Book Club, just go to betweenthecoverstv.com and sign up. You'll be getting free digital books, notices about all of our shows, and like I said, a glass of wine anytime you want to come by. See, if you're in the club, you don't even have to donate books. So isn't that fabulous? Well, before we get started on your books, I figure they say, well, Stephen King says, if you want to be a good writer, you have to be a good reader. Do you two read a lot?
Yes.
Avidly, yeah.
All right, we're gonna see how much these two read. I went over to Jeopardy. You know, Jeopardy's all the rage. That guy. How many episodes has he won now?
27?
He's won like millions of dollars.
Yeah. One.
So I went to see the Jeopardy questions, the top 10 questions that had to do with books. So we're going to see how our authors do with our Jeopardy questions.
Do we have a lifeline that we can call?
Well, if you two don't know them, I know my mother and my husband in the audience know everything about nothing that there is, so they can pay attention also. Okay, so Bobby, let's look at what our first question is in Play the Jeopardy Book Challenge. And the first question, 1952 novel that begins off the coast of Cuba and ends on shore 3 days later.
What is the old man in the sea?
All right! Woo!
Oh,
what is the old man in the sea?
I'm a big Hemingway fan.
Very nice, very nice. 1 point for you. You do get a glass of wine on the commercial break.
Thank you.
Okay, our second question. Mother of Bonnie Blue. She ran a sawmill after the Civil War.
Scarlett O'Hara.
All right! Okay, of course, the feminist author over here. You, the yeah, right. I put that one in there for you.
I got
Maureen,
one.
so you really have to know that one. Okay, it's a tie score so far. So far, they're all getting wine. Okay, next question. The only native Californian to win the Nobel Prize for Literature.
Ooh.
Is that John Steinbeck?
Oh my gosh, you are rocking and rolling. And what was the book?
Grapes of Wrath?
Yes, very good. The Grapes of Wrath. And our audience is so smart
That's
today.
St. Francis Prep education.
I love that. Okay, 2-1. Let's look at our next question. For its 1990 edition, Guinness dropped all records of this one of the 7 deadly sins.
Would that be gluttony?
It would be gluttony. Boy, St. Francis Prep did you well.
Well, for the hours I was awake.
Okay, well, I also heard before the show that my own husband taught you, so I think you had very good education growing up. I'm very excited. Okay, our next question, or next answer. Ideas in his novels that have come true include space travel, television, and the submarine.
Orwell, right?
Not Orwell.
Oh, I know this. It's on the tip of my tongue.
Oh, Jules Verne.
Jules Verne. Yep, my dad got that big audience too. Very nice.
I was
Jules
thinking
Verne.
the Nautilus. I couldn't get the name out.
You know, it's so funny. I was just talking about Jules Verne with a science fiction author. And, you know, he's science fiction. But now he seems so kind of quaint, you know, because it all came true.
Right.
So it seems kind of old-fashioned and quaint. But no, very, very progressive. Okay, our next answer. Just before its publication in 1887, its title was changed from The Undead to this.
1987.
1887.
1887.
1887. The title was changed from The Undead to this.
Is that Frankenstein?
I thought so too, but that would not be Frankenstein.
Nosferatu?
Okay, but you're close. So think of something else.
Dracula.
I heard from the audience, Dracula. Very
Wasn't-
nice. My husband, who I told you knows everything about nothing, he knew that. Okay, our next question. According to the London Times, she was England's highest-earning British woman in 2001, followed by Queen Elizabeth.
J.K. Rowling.
J.K. Rowling,
Yeah,
yes.
yeah.
Let's hear it for an author doing it. Very nice. Next question. One of the original titles for this 1925 novel was Among Ash Heaps and Millionaires.
What? Oh, The Great Gatsby.
I hear my audience. Yes, we have a lifeline.
I told you I needed a lifeline.
The Great Gatsby. Oh, I'm glad our audience is smarter than our authors tonight.
I have an English teacher.
Oh, well, we've got an English teacher in the audience. That's not helping. Okay, next question or next answer. The Road to Middle-earth is a book about this writer.
Tolkien.
It is. It's a book about J.R.R. Tolkien. And our final answer. In a last-minute change in this manuscript, Charles Dickens renamed Little Fred. Tiny Tim. Yes, he did. Tiny Tim.
That I did not know.
All right, I'm not sure. Mike O'Keefe has 3. Kieran, it sounded like you had 3 or 4 there, too. Okay, we're going to hear from some of our sponsors. We're going to pour some wine for our winners, and we'll be right back.
That's great. I was a political science major.
Do you have a book, either in your head or on your desk, just waiting to get out to anxious readers? Hi, I'm Stephanie Larkin, author, book developer, and head penguin at Red Penguin Books. We're a publishing company specializing in books of all genres and publishing in all formats, including digital, audible, and print book. From business books to romance, memoirs to mysteries, our authors have complete control over their books from start to print. We'll help get your book to booksellers all around. Major booksellers such as Amazon, Apple, Kobo, Walmart, even libraries and bookstores around the world. We believe in our authors. So call or email today to get your free publisher's packet to get started. Just visit us at redpenguinbooks.com and get your book out there and into the hands of your readers. At Red Penguin Books, you call all the shots. So call us today and turn your dreams into a reality.
The sun is getting warmer, but when we soar away among the clouds, the sky is just a border, but when we're floating up like helium.
Welcome back to Between the Covers. We are so thrilled to have one of our authors Skyping into us. So please welcome Natalie Elisha, the author of Honey Momma, The Woman's Wealth Guide for the Digital Age. Natalie, you there?
Thank you so much for having me.
Ah, there you are. Thanks for being here. Nice
My
to see you.
Great to see you.
So, Honey Momma, The Woman's Wealth Bible for the Digital Age.
Yes, Money Momma. So Money Momma's right here.
I love the
And
cover. I love the cover.
This cover was inspired by my daughter, who was born almost 9 months ago, and that's when I wrote the book, because I realized that all my career as an estate attorney, I was telling people, do your will, plan for your family. But it didn't hit home to my heart until I myself gave birth to my beautiful, perfect daughter, who looks a little bit like the girl on the cover.
Aw, congratulations on the baby.
Thank you so
And
much.
the new book,
You know,
fantastic.
Go, please, after you. So, the little girl on the cover was a beautiful representation of I want every woman and every boss little baby inside of her that sometimes we forget to know that she can have sovereignty over her financial future, and that she can learn, whether she's 90 or 9 years old, about how to properly protect. And that's something nowhere, Stephanie, we're not taught that anywhere. No educational system is teaching financial education 101.
You are absolutely right. You're so right. It's funny. I'm teaching a business math class right now, and my students who are in college don't know the first thing about money. So I'm so glad you're doing this.
Thank you. Not the first thing. And, my friends who are other lawyers, doctors, they go through multiple degrees, and yet they're taking on more and more debt, and no one is talking to them about what happens after.
Mm-hmm. So tell me, some tips that you want to pass on to our viewers here. What should we be doing? Besides running over to Amazon.com and buying your book, where else can we buy it?
Well, it's only on Amazon right now.
Okay.
Which is, please, if you want some great tips and do-it-yourself kind of items, here are the things that you really need. Number one, you need a life and legacy plan. And what do I mean by that? You need to put in place your will, power of attorney, healthcare proxy, and a trust. Not planning, which is what 64% of Americans do, die without a will, is not okay anymore. If we care about the work we're doing in this world, if we care about our children being taken care of, we cannot skip out on that important step.
Is that true? 64% die without a will?
That is absolutely true, which in America means 200 million people are dying without a will. Why? Because we all know it's going to happen. We don't know how. We don't know when. But we know that's the end.
It is going to happen. Yes, that's true.
It's because of the fear around this. It's also extremely typically expensive to go to a lawyer to have this done. And it's uncomfortable to think about death, which is why I've reframed the conversation as a life and legacy plan, as opposed to an estate plan.
Yeah, I like that. Life and legacy sounds positive. Thinking about death, you're right. Nobody wants to talk about it.
Exactly. The next thing I would really suggest that people do, Stephanie, I created a concept called the IVF trust.
Okay.
And what this is for in vitro trust, which allows for people to have either their parents, grandparents, or what have you, or themselves start saving for egg freezing and implementation and IVF procedures. And here's why. We as women are being told over and over again, you're empowered, you can do anything, you can be the best in your career, and we're proving them right. However, that comes at a cost, and many of my, female friends are in their mid-30s, 40s, want to have a child, and haven't met that right person.
Right.
So, unless you have $100,000 sitting around that you would prefer to do nothing else with, I
don't know very many people like that.
Planning for that reality ASAP.
Right.
And putting money into an IVF trust and backing it up with an IVF fund, both of which I basically created a notion about.
Wow. Okay.
And thirdly, I would say, the biggest thing that robs people of their wealth is really, everything that has to do with lawyers, unfortunately.
Spoken from a lawyer.
I understand, and it's divorce and death, right?
Right.
Or aging without having the proper planning. So here's what I mean. A divorce, we all know, between 50 and 60% of Americans are getting divorced.
Isn't that crazy?
That means anything that you do during the marriage, depending on the state that you live in, could be split in half, plus other payments, etc. That's a big, big money hurdle you have to get over.
Right.
And the next thing is, my clients who are living into their 80s and 90s, which is not strange today, that's the norm, have not planned properly. And as a result, they're spending between $15,000 and $20,000 a month in home care or nursing home care cost. That depletes your money real fast.
Oh, yeah.
So those are the things, those are the most important things I really want to bring to the knowledge of everyone watching here, is that it doesn't have to be that way. It doesn't have to be that we're waiting for things to happen to us. We can be proactive. We can go and get it and make sure that just with a few tweaks, the few legal instruments in place, we can actually live a life without worrying about divorcing spouses, predators, lawsuits, etc. So it's unbelievable what the trust can really accomplish for people.
Well, you're absolutely right. All of these things are inevitabilities. Aging, death, these things are going to happen. We might as well plan for them. Don't just be blindsided for them. And even divorce, if it's the majority, I mean, it is something you have to consider.
And Stephanie, another thing that I write about in my book is about corporate America. We're told the story of women's empowerment. You can do anything until you become a mother. Because after the 6 weeks that they have to pay, if you're getting up to 12, you're considered, quote, on disability. Right. Excuse me. Why isn't that 50% of us women, many of whom choose to have children, are now considered disabled for continuing the human race? Are you kidding me? And then on top of it, we can't move up in our career because we have to worry about the kids. And by the way, daycare or a nanny in New York City costs well over $3,000 a month.
Oh, it's huge chunk out of a person's salary. Absolutely.
Huge. So what are these companies doing to secure women in top positions? I think it's simple tweaks. It's implementing a daycare stipend. It's helping moms understand what to expect when they first have their child and really encouraging them to be able to work from anywhere so that what I think are corporations' best employees, the hardest working, because moms, as you know, we do 36 things at the same time.
Absolutely. There was an article in the paper yesterday that being a mom is like working 2.5 jobs.
Right? And then you're working your own job, and then you have to deal with, and so many of my, young women and all women who I coach and speak to, they say, well, I don't want to ask for more because what if my employer doesn't like that and fires me? To which I say, do it and ask for more, because if you don't ask, you don't get. And if an employer is so backwards that because you want some more time and to be able to work from home where you're performing 1 day a week to make it easier for your family, right, and they're not going to allow for that, they're not going to be around a very long time, because the statistics will show that by 2020, 40% of the workforce will be freelancers.
So they get a little more power.
Which is amazing and astounding.
So these are great tips for us. And is your book speaking mostly to one demographic? I know it's geared towards women, but the tips you're mentioning could go for anybody.
Could go for anyone. Money Momma, to me, is not a book only for women. Money Momma is a movement of women's empowerment, but not anti-men. It's women for women, men for women, because we have to understand that women's empowerment is human empowerment, period.
Absolutely, absolutely. Oh, Natalie, I'm so glad you joined us. Can you
Thank
tell us?
you so much for having me.
And tell our viewers where we can find you. Do you have a website we can go to?
Yes.
Okay.
So you can check me out on www.nataliegold.global. I've been seen on almost every national television show, really speaking this message, and I hope that you are someone who can get something out of it.
Terrific. I'm also going to put Natalie's website links and her book links on BetweenTheCoversTV.com, so you can visit there and find her book. So, Natalie, what's next on the agenda? We have a new baby, a new book. What's next for you?
So my baby is growing, thank goodness. We are thinking about number 2, so let's see when that happens. And yeah, a new book is on the agenda. I actually have a similar book to Money Momma that's called The Bride's Guide, really tailored towards women who are about to get married. Mm-hmm. That likely will come out in the next month or so. And really my two big projects after that is a novel talking about these things in a way that brings the characters to life, which I think is so important. And also an interview book done with different women who have done unbelievable things in their career and telling their real trials and tribulations. So Stephanie, please know that you're going to be in that book, God willing, if you agree.
Well, thank you.
So,
I'd be thrilled.
course.
Absolutely thrilled. And you're going to be back on the show with your next book, so please keep me posted.
Great. I can't wait. And thank you so much again for having
You're
me.
welcome. Thanks for joining us.
Bye, everyone. Good night.
And we're going to hear from our sponsors, and we'll be right back, too. Thanks.
That's right, keep it going, keep it going. That's right, keep it going, keep it going.
Are you a tie lover? You love the diversity in ties because they come in different colors, fabrics, patterns, etc. Get access to a wide variety of neckties. Buy from or trade with other tie lovers. Don't wear ties anymore? You have more ties than you know what to do with? Want to turn all those ties into real money? Do you just need a tie? You just need a tie for a special occasion. Now you can buy a tie today and sell it tomorrow. The Necktie Exchange, the online retailer where you buy, sell, and trade neckties. Register today.
Welcome back to Between the Covers. Well, I'm always thrilled when we have a Skype guest, but I love having live guests. This way I can rib them as we're going. So please welcome guest Mike O'Keefe. Thank you so much for joining us.
It's a pleasure to be here.
Oh my God, I didn't realize how heavy the book was.
Oh.
Well, I've been reading it on Kindle.
Okay.
And so, it feels as light as a little book of poems. I have no idea. I just keep going
You'll
and
just
going.
get the idea when it never ends.
It never ends. No, when I got the idea? When it went onto my iPad on the Kindle app, and it has the little description feed, and it says, estimated reading time, 11 hours and 56 minutes. I said, what did he send me here?
And I have people telling me they read it in one sitting.
11 hours.
Well, I guess
Amazon is saying 11 hours.
Maybe they're drinking it when they're reading in the bar. I don't
So
know.
I didn't
Or
get
on
to
a long flight.
I didn't get to see the book live until now, just on the Kindle. But you're right. It keeps going and going and going. But it looks fabulous. I love it.
Well, I'm glad you like it.
I do. It looks better than on the Kindle, I'm like, there's nothing like a real book.
Yeah,
Nothing
cream-colored
like a real book.
pages.
Oh, I love that.
Nice
You
Times
know,
New Roman.
I'm a fan. You know that. So tell us, Shot to Pieces, a novel. I love the story so far. I didn't get 11 hours into it yet, but I'm working on it.
Yeah, well, the reason why it's as long as it is it encompasses basically my 25-year police career.
All in one.
Well,
You're allowed to write another book,
Well, I actually...
I know that.
kind of wishing I had broken this up into three. But
Next time.
as it stands, I'm introducing the character. It's an emotional story, along with being about a murder case that was actually based on one of my old murder cases. We delve into the character, his background, and his incredibly eventful police career. I did not have the easiest run. Came out on top.
You're here, and I'm very grateful.
Had I not been injured and forced off the job, I never would have retired. I loved what I was doing. But I left as a first-grade detective, which is a prestigious rank held by very few detectives.
Well, thank you for everything you've done.
did.
Absolutely.
Well, the type of work that I was doing gave me a lot of material.
I can only imagine. That's why the book is
mysteries.
11 hours long.
Yeah, well, it's the other thing is a first-time writer.
Yes.
You don't know when to put the pen down.
Don't tell me you actually used a pen for this.
No, I'm just being figurative.
Well, I know that this was your first, but it's certainly not your last, which I'm so delighted.
No, I'm actually finished with the manuscript for the. It's actually a prequel to Shot to Pieces. It's called A Reckoning in Brooklyn. It's a 1979 Bushwick story, and the main character, Detective Patty Durr, appears in that one as a 17-year-old. And he had as an eventful youth as he did a police career. So, and I just put the finishing touches on the manuscript for the sequel.
Okay.
Also based on one of my old homicide cases called Burnt to a Crisp.
Ooh.
Which was
I'm scared already.
Well, it was a triple homicide. 3 people were killed in an arson, and it was probably one of the most difficult cases that I ever investigated.
Really?
And in as much as the victims were so innocent, we had an 80-year-old man with Alzheimer's, his wife with respiratory issues, and their 30-year-old son with Down syndrome. Were the only victims in this fire. And it was a difficult case for me to investigate, largely because the victim's son was one of the biggest drug dealers in Brooklyn.
Really?
And he was determined to take care of it himself. And I had to convince him to work with me and allow me to do my job.
Right.
And that's also an emotional story. There's the interplay between Patty and his wife, and the circumstances that they have to overcome in the course of the narrative. If you're not endeared by these characters, you have no soul.
Well, certainly being a detective is giving you a lot of fodder for books, more than some other, industries that you might have worked in.
Well, if you're writing police thrillers, it helps to have been.
Well, yes, but and police thriller is quite the category that people love to read.
Yeah, well, it's the big one. Unfortunately, it's dominated by the big names, and it's almost as if nobody wants to bother to take a chance on a first-time or a new writer in that particular field when you have Lee Child and Nelson DeMille and Don Winslow.
Yeah, and they're pumping them out every 3 months or so.
I don't want what they have. I'll take a 10th.
Yeah, I know. It's not easy. Now, when you were writing, I presume because these are cases that you've worked on, that I'll say how it ends, as opposed to people who are writing fiction, straight fiction.
Well, I know how it ends, but you're not.
I don't know how it ends.
You're not going to know how it ends as a reader.
But as a writer, how do you structure things? Do you make a little outline first and then work in scenes? Do you start from the beginning and since you know how it's going to end, just plow right through? How do you work
Interestingly enough, this novel, and the way that I even got into writing it in the first place is after I retired, I kept threatening to write a novel, and my wife got fed up with hearing it, so she bought me a laptop, threw it at me, and said, "Write it."
Good for her. Thank you.
Shot to Pieces was born. So I just wung it. I had the idea of the story. I knew the shape that I wanted it to take, and as I was writing it, obviously you're reading it,
right?
And you should anyway, instinctively know what part of the story needs to be fed next.
Right.
So I keep going back and forth until I've filled out this entire narrative. The prequel of this, the 1979 story in Bushwick, actually wrote itself. It's based upon the Pizza Connection, which was the largest heroin distribution conspiracy in history.
Wow.
Even to this day. Nothing's ever been bigger, and I just reimagined that and just made it 10 times worse. I'm not a big fan of the mafia. They did.
Is anybody?
Yeah, well, a lot of people are impressed with them. Don't be impressed with them. the third book, I had started writing it, and I got about halfway done and then stepped away from it. And then realized I remember these people's names in reality, but those aren't the names I'm using in the book. So I had to go back from the beginning and write a character journal.
Oh, okay.
And once I got to that point, I was like, well, I know how I want this to end. So I did an outline.
Okay.
3 weeks later, it was done.
No.
So I'm never going to write a book again without an outline.
Very nice. Okay, so the outline is the key. That's
Yeah, I
the
guess you can
secret.
pump them out if you have an idea where
Well,
you're
that's
going.
what I guess what Lee Childs and all those other authors are doing that are pumping them out.
Yeah, 2 a year, right?
Yeah, well, I know we have Lee Childs is actually doing 3 or 4 because some are under pen names.
Okay.
Well, Lee Childs is a pen name also.
Yeah.
But some are under alternate pen names. Some are with. Now, admittedly, they have team. They have staff. I'm not thinking you have staff. Lee Childs has staff.
Well, I have my wife.
Yeah, well, I'm sure she'd slap you if you called her staff.
No, I call her my muse. She likes that.
Okay, a muse and staff are very, very different, you know, and don't forget that.
Well, all of my books are dedicated to her, and I make a point in the acknowledgments of referring to her as my muse.
Oh, well, that's...
Because, you know, I like
that.
sleeping in a bed.
Okay, after the depressingness of hearing the divorce rate, I am loving hearing this. Trust me. Thank you so much. So what's next on the agenda? The prequel is coming out. It's ready and about to be published, or?
I actually just published a short story collection called
Okay.
13 Stories, Fractured, Twisted, and Put Away Wet. And there's a series of short fiction that I had, some of it I had published in online literary journals.
Right.
And some others were just short fiction that won contests. And I looked at it and I said, well, you know, I got a book here.
Yeah.
And the nice thing about it is I get to explore other genres. I'm
Right,
dealing with
right.
dystopian horror, science fiction.
Right, nice.
You know, it's
Am I allowed
like-
to show a little peek here, or no?
Yeah, I'd be delighted if you
I can
could
show
show
a
the
little
cover.
peek. I wasn't sure if I was allowed because I got a sneak.
Well, it's available
peek.
now on Amazon.
Oh, it is available
Yes,
on
it is.
Amazon. Okay, and I love the cover.
That's actually my illustration. I drew that.
I hope you can see that. Isn't that beautiful? So this is available on Amazon. Shot to Pieces is available on Amazon. You have a website also?
I do. It's michaelo'keefeauthor.com.
michaelo'keefeauthor.com.
And
Amazon.
all of the links to the books to Amazon are there.
Fantastic.
And some great old police photos from the 80s and 90s.
Love that. I love that. Okay, michaelo'keefe.com. You can see that during the commercial break. We'll be right back with our next author.
Everybody get up when you're feeling down. Everybody get up, turn your life around.
When you trust yourself, you have the power to make up your life. Studio 1031 is an environment where excellence is always expected. We work with all types of people from all walks of life. We give deserving women something that they wouldn't give themselves.
Everybody get up.
Come join this makeup movement. When you're feeling down, turn your life around. Make up your life.
I know it's gonna be alright.
Do you have a book, either in your head or on your desk, just waiting to get out to anxious readers? Hi, I'm Stephanie Larkin, author, book developer, and head penguin at Red Penguin Books. We're a publishing company specializing in books of all genres and publishing in all formats, including digital, audible, and print book. From business books to romance, memoirs to mysteries, our authors have complete control over their books from start to print. We'll help get your book to booksellers all around. Major booksellers such as Amazon, Apple, Kobo, Walmart, even libraries and bookstores around the world. We believe in our authors. So call or email today to get your free publisher's packet to get started. Just visit us at redpenguinbooks.com and get your book out there and into the hands of your readers. At Red Penguin Books, you call all the shots. So call us today and turn your dreams into a reality. Welcome back to Between the Covers. Thank you so much for joining us. Well, kind of sticking with the theme of, I guess, Irish, because we have a whole Irish thing going on here with the cops. We have a debut author that I am just praying is writing a second book. So please welcome author Maureen Reid.
Thank you.
Thank you. And please, God, tell me you're writing another book, because me and my mother and our whole family love your book.
I am in the beginning stages.
Okay. I told you that already. My favorite line in your entire book was in the About the Author section when it said, "This is Maureen's first novel." I said, "That gives me hope."
That's right.
Second.
You know, and it gives hope to anyone who's looking for their next career. This is like my fifth.
Well, you are slaying at it.
Yeah,
Absolutely loving it.
Great.
So, yeah, let me just hold it up
the
so everyone
book.
can see. You have books here, Becoming Herself. Mm-hmm. And it is just, tell us about the book. I mean, I know the book inside and out, but please.
Well, it's a story of a woman. It's based on my grandmother, and it was inspired by my grandmother. It's not her story, who was an Irish immigrant at the turn of the 20th century, who my great-grandmother dies on the voyage over. So what happens is that she's subsequently adopted by a German farm family, and that's where the real the fact of the
That's
book
all you know about
begins,
the facts. Right, she was
coming
adopted.
through.
Right.
But it struck me as, what would it be like in 1904, 1905, to be in this new country? You sound different.
Right.
You look different. You have no parents. Her father abandons her at the orphanage.
Yes. Oh.
She gets adopted, but she learns, now this is in the story, that if she doesn't do everything just right, they can bring her back. And like the Dickens characters, if you get brought back, they take you to the poorhouse.
Yes.
So she starts her life knowing that she has to be perfect, right? She needs to keep, and they're good people.
Right,
There's none of this coming
No.
through. And then as an adult, she marries. She has a whole grown-up good experience, farm experience in a farm town not far from where I grew up. So I understand Western New York. She discovers a letter that was written at the time of the voyage over, and literally her world comes crashing. It's like, I forgot who I was. I know who I am, but I need to stitch those pieces together to make the quilt of who I am. And so she begins to write. It's all done in her voice, which is an interesting and I guess a different way of writing, because you have to keep true to the person in her voice. And as a friend of mine who read it said, it's Margaret's voice, Maureen, not yours. So I had to work hard at that. And so it takes you through her coming. She reconnects with a brother who was in Ireland. So it's historical fiction, and I think that's important because you heard during the break, I was a political science major as an undergraduate. So the English,
we hear all the good stuff during the break.
And so I think it's important. What I like to read, and I know, Stephanie, you're going to talk about it later, are not only a good story, but you come away and you've learned something.
Oh, yes.
You know, that you say, oh, I didn't know that before this. Or I knew it, but I didn't know how it felt.
Right.
And so I think, so the messages that come through is it's very much a feminist book. It's told from a woman's perspective. Stephanie's heard my line. It's a story of, it's at a time when women gave up the corset and found their voice.
I love that.
It's great.
Yeah. She gets involved
She should
again.
write copy. Man. She should write a book.
It talks with, she learns that she can be more than what she can only be allowed to do. And I'm listening to your first author talk about women in digital age. Women in 1960 had to get their husband's permission in order to get a credit card.
Isn't it wonderful to have a young woman who doesn't realize, and not that she doesn't realize, she's smart enough to know, but
it just didn't happen.
She
couldn't own property.
Financial independence, absolutely.
She was an only child. If she didn't marry, the property would go to someone else within the family,
right?
Because women couldn't inherit. That changed in the 20s, and depending on the states, it's a little complicated. But in New York, we got the vote in 1917, but the country didn't get the vote until 100 years ago for women. It's only 100 years ago.
That's right.
And so one of the themes I'm hoping is that people will begin to realize that the headlines you read in today's paper were as true then as they are now. The needing to have your voice heard, figuring out how to do civil disobedience, much more during the suffragette movement, much more violent in England than it was in this country. But neither Wilson nor Churchill wanted women to have the vote.
Right. Yes,
Really.
you're right. You're
Yeah,
absolutely
I don't
right.
think people know that. And we love Churchill, but really,
But really, he didn't.
Winston, you know. And so those are the kinds of the pieces that caused me to write the book.
Right.
And so I did.
And we're so thankful you did. You know, you mentioned you want people to learn something from it. And from both of your books, and I find this with the best books that I read, you learn something maybe factually that you didn't know. You know, I didn't really know about certain things that went on, but you also learn about yourself.
Mm-hmm.
When you're reading a quality book like you've both written, you find out, oh, wow, that's something about me.
Right.
What was your message there?
Well, I think what's important, I mean, is that it's one of the messages I think is to take opportunity. I mean, I've been blessed in many ways in my life, but sometimes there was an angel on my shoulder that said, kind of go this way, go do that.
Right.
And I did. And I think with Margaret, she takes chances, and she doesn't know they're chances.
Yes.
She just does it because it feels like the right thing to do.
Instinctive.
It's instinctive. It makes sense. She knows she's going to have to sacrifice sleep, time when she gets involved in the suffragette movement.
That's right.
It's like, I've still got children. I still have responsibilities at the farm. And she has a husband who's...
Not thrilled.
Right. and in Eli's case, which is actually both of these are the names of my grandparents, he doesn't want the world to change.
Right.
He was comfortable in the world he was. He was a successful farmer. He was well respected in the community. They were pillars of the church. And all of a sudden, people are taking to the air. There's a wonderful story. I think one of my favorite kind of humors. They go and they're listening to the radio for the first time, right? And one of the cousins, who I think it's, my maiden cousin, whatever the last name is, kind of thing is, which tells you all she is, leaves the dinner party because these are godless voices. I'm not going to talk to people who I can't see, that I can't answer back.
Right.
You know, that was 1920.
I understand that.
You
You know,
know?
it's got to be hard, and for all of us, but, the young grew up with the world as it is. And it is changing. And back then, you're absolutely right. I can't imagine my shock the first time I saw an airplane flying overhead. I must be terrified if I were living in that era.
And there was so much change. That was when we got the car, which changed totally the way people lived.
Yes.
The farm, everybody could leave the farm because they could drive off it.
Right.
Which
and that
didn't
wasn't
happen
happening before that.
It didn't happen before that.
Yeah.
And then clearly World War I, where people started to leave, and the whole kind of nationalism that was going on. And not unlike today, real strong concerns with the women's movement in New York at that time was at the same time, again, factual. So the U.S. was talking about, Wilson was, are we in war, are we not going to war, and all of the controversies in terms of the newspaper. And women started to say, should we still be fighting for the vote? Because now we have people going over to fight.
Right.
Should we step back? And in the book it talks about women need to have a voice in making these kinds of decisions because we will be hard pressed to send our sons to fight.
Yes.
For something we can't believe in. I'm not sure that's absolutely true, but that's kind of the message.
Yeah.
Like we need, as mothers,
Right.
we'll have a different view as to whether or not to go to war.
What are you hoping that people will come away with when they read the book?
I'm hoping, I think it depends on where you are. I think if you're of a certain age, it kind of gives you hope and kind of solace about where we've come from.
Yes.
I think if it's younger women, I hope there's more of a recognition of who came before us. And the battles that had to be fought to get them where they are today.
I think that's so important for them to see. My own daughter is 21 and a staunch fighting feminist, which I love. But I love that she'll be coming home from college soon. I'll have a copy for her so she could read and realize. I know she knows in her head that women couldn't vote 100 years ago. But I want her to read it with characters that she loves and say, wow.
Yeah. There's also a message in that, and this is, and my book is dedicated to my husband as well, so I'm going to just put this as, but there is something that when women come together to get something done, there is a bonding that occurs, that it will just happen. And as I say, I think my favorite line in the book is when she talks about the women in the choir that she's with, when I'm with these women, I can breathe. And there is the sense of, okay, what do we need to do and how do we do it? And I'm hoping that's the message people go in terms of what that means to have that kind of faith and trust in each other.
Well, I love that also because the more technology we have, it seems the more isolated people are becoming.
Right. That's exactly right. You know.
So,
and there is letters in the book.
Yes,
You know,
I love that.
So it's, you know, and when was the last time anybody wrote a letter? Not a text, not even an email, you know, like a letter to someone who, you know, and that's a correspondence between her, and this goes back to the Irish Mike, her and her brother in Ireland. So it also talks about Ireland's struggle for its own freedom. So they're parallel. The freedom for women and the freedom for people in Ireland were happening on or about the same time.
Absolutely.
So
well,
it's fun.
I know Maureen Reid, author.com.
Right.
And some fun facts on the website also are recipes for your book club.
Yes.
So if your book club is doing the book, and if your book club is doing the book here on Long Island, I would think that the author might even...
I'd love to be there.
Absolutely,
you know.
which
I'd love to introduce Margaret to anyone who would like to meet her.
I think that's just so fabulous, and Margaret wants to be introduced.
That's exactly right.
Margaret has been waiting for 100 years
to have her story told.
To have her story told. Even if you had to make up, you know...
A whole lot.
A whole lot of her story. She has still waited 100 years to have her story told. So tell us a little bit what's next, because we're not letting this debut author stop now.
Yes, well, it's still historical fiction.
Okay, so same genre.
Same genre. I have 4 granddaughters who are very keen that this is done, because I promised them the next book would be dedicated to them.
Oh, so you have to do it
So
now.
every time they come over, they go, "Are you done yet, Grandma?" I said, "Not yet." But it's going to be one of the, and very early on in terms of the research, but I worked for lawyers my whole career, and on the administrative side in terms of running the firms. But there are some trials that I think have made a difference or not made a difference in this country. So one clearly that will be talked about is the shirtwaist factory trial.
Oh my gosh!
The trial, not the whole event,
yeah.
not that. I mean, because everybody knows what happened.
But the trial. I know nothing about the trial.
They walked away. The 2 owners walked away scot-free. Nothing happened to them.
Oh my gosh!
Because
I had
they
no
didn't
idea.
know the doors were locked. The audience is moaning. Right.
Yes, and the audience moans.
So it's going to be, that's somehow going to be in. And then the other, I was talking, when you talk about facts you don't know, so this is a hint in terms of coming, is how does tap dancing get started in this country?
Oh, okay.
And it was a combination of the African American dances that they brought over and the Irish jig. And from that we got tap dancing.
I love that. Okay.
So very early on, I mean,
we're going to keep your seat
right.
warm on the couch there for the next book, so you better
get on, you and the girls.
me and your granddaughters want that next book coming out. So Maureen Reid, author.com, I know available on Amazon and at booksellers all over near you. And if you forgot everything else I said, BetweenTheCoversTV.com will have links to all of our authors today and from past episodes. So please visit, and we'll be right back.
Me llaman Tan Pablo y hace más de 20 años me enamoré de una colombiana. Viajé a su país y conocí un estilo de café muy distinto, muy especial. Ahora tostamos cafés excelentes, con alturas y microclimas diferentes, resultado en una taza muy compleja y muy rica, un sabor nuevo en el mundo. Fue un éxito. And I even got to keep the girl.
Inspired by aerobic classes and a dream, Body by Tamika has helped hundreds of women reach their fitness goals. One size doesn't fit all, and neither should your fitness experience. Body by Tamika is about creating an environment where women can come together to work out, meet new friends, and get inspired. Whether you desire to lose weight, tone up, or prepare for a mommy makeover, Body by Tamika is here to help. Body by Tamika is considerate to female weight loss challenges resulting from pregnancy and or life changes that can be extremely resistant to diet and exercise. For stubborn problem areas, Body by Tamika offers non-invasive aesthetic procedures such as laser lipo and wood slimming body contouring. Book your free consultation today to see for yourself.
Are you a tie lover? You love the diversity in ties because they come in different colors, fabrics, patterns, etc. Get access to a wide variety of neckties. Buy from or trade with other tie lovers. Don't wear ties anymore? You have more ties than you know what to do with? Want to turn all those ties into real money? Do you just need a tie? You just need a tie for a special occasion. Now you can buy a tie today and sell it tomorrow. The Necktie Exchange, the online retailer where you buy, sell, and trade neckties. Register today.
Welcome back to Between the Covers. Thanks for joining us. Well, to be a great author, you have to be a great reader. So, Maureen, what have you been reading? What would you tell us we should read?
Well, I read primarily historical fiction because clearly that's what I love coming
And that's why you're
through.
so good at it.
And so, Fiona Davis, all kind of in that I can't look at. And sometimes you have to be careful, I think, with authors, what we were talking about, they have a storyline that they write the same thing over and over. So
it's
you have
not
to be
easy to
mindful
keep
of
writing
that.
books, especially those authors who are writing
But I think that
for
those,
you.
I just read Where the Crawdads Sing, so I think...
yes, I want to read that.
So I think that's really...
I didn't get to that yet.
But I really, to be truthful now, spend a lot of time reading what I'm going to be writing about.
Uh-huh.
So it changes kind of So I'm reading Paddywhacked, which is the story of the Irish Mafia.
Okay.
I'm actually the author of that, TJ English. I'm appearing on his podcast on
Look
Friday.
at that.
Then I need to be
Small
in touch.
world.
I need to be
Small
in touch.
world.
But do you want us to talk
What do you
about
have there? Yes.
My favorite book is probably The Whole World. It's like if I was on a desert island, I would want Darcy to be with me.
Pride and Prejudice. There we go.
No offense taken with my husband in the audience.
Good choice.
I think Elizabeth is a modern woman set in a time
Absolutely.
that wasn't allowed as well. So
I love that. And I love how tiny that book is, by the way. That's
right.
adorable.
Fits in your pocket.
Absolutely adorable. Mike, what about you?
I brought basically the book that was a talisman of my growing up.
Really?
Catch-22 by Joseph Heller.
Ah.
And I had a tumultuous upbringing. The world didn't seem to make a lot of sense to me. And Joseph Heller showed me that the world doesn't make sense, and it's really funny. This is actually, I brought this is my son's copy.
Okay.
My original copy, and I read it for the first time in 7th grade at Miraculous Metal. It's in the house somewhere, and it looks like a beat-up old softball. It's creased, it's coffee-stained, it's richly annotated. And I must have read it about 40 times, because every time the world stops making sense again, like now, I whip out Joe Heller and I read it again.
All right. I know. I haven't read that yet, so I know.
And as a matter of fact, Catch-22 is referenced and shot to pieces.
All right.
Shows up in the book.
Well, then I am taking that book recommendation. Your book recommendation I've read 100 times, and I adore it every single time. Well, thank you so much for joining us on Between the Covers. Visit us at BetweenTheCoversTV.com to get more information about our authors, links to buy their books, and happy reading. Thanks for joining us.